everybody! It's been a while since I've seen you guys, so I'm happy to actually be making another video for a change. But today is going to be the start of something new I'm going to be starting on. It's going to be called Katy's Corner, and basically it's just going to be my own videos, kind of giving you tips on certain things, and also maybe going out and trying some new foods or things like that that's really popular right now, and kind of give you my opinion on them and give you some information about it and see if I dislike it or approve it and if it's worth trying. And like I said, just basically just kind of go over some tips on certain subjects and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to trying this new chapter. Hopefully you guys will like it as well. I know you guys are used to Andy with his roller coaster videos at Kings Island, and they are doing really well, and I know you guys are looking forward to it. But as you guys know, I'm not a huge roller coaster person, and I know I haven't been with Andy lately on his videos at Kings Island, just for that reason, but I will still be going with him towards the end of the season when all the Halloween stuff is happening, and but I think for my sake, I think it's good if I started something for myself and doing my own thing that I enjoy doing, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well. So let's go ahead and start with day one. This is Katy's Corner, and today what I am going to be showing you is something that I mentioned probably back in April. When the NFL draft was happening, I mentioned to you guys that that I do fantasy football, and there are some people out there who have never done it before and are clueless on how it works. So in this video, I'm going to give you tips on what I think are good strategies to take into concept with this, and what you should look out for, things that you should and shouldn't do when you're drafting, and I think it would be really helpful for you guys. And just so you know, these are based off of my opinions. You don't have to go by what I say. If there's something that you guys do that seems to help you, I would like to hear about it. I like to get tips from other people. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. But again, these are just tips based off of my year's experience on this, and to help those who are new with fantasy football, never done it before. I think it would really help you guys out. And I did mention this back in my video when we were watching the draft, that I would be doing this when it got a little bit closer to football season. By the way, football season starts in 2 weeks. I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm a huge football person. So is Andy. So I'm really looking forward to this. But I will link the description, down in the description down below if you want to see that video when we drafted Joe Burrow back in April. That would be something definitely good to see. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you my tips on how to have a successful draft in your fantasy football league. Okay, so this is a setup of one of my teams. For fantasy football, there are many websites that you can go on to in order to do fantasy football. The most popular one is this one right here, which is ESPN. To me, I think that is the most easiest one to do. It's very easy to navigate. They have like tabs right up at the top that help you out and navigate a little bit more. I've done Yahoo before. It's kind of a little bit bland, a little bit boring. It can get a little bit tedious sometimes. And the one that I really don't prefer doing is CBS Sports. It was just very complicated. It was really hard to navigate. You had to go through like so many steps in order to like do trades and pick up players, and it was just really hard to access. But for the most part, most people that I've seen do fantasy football usually do ESPN. But to me, that is just my recommendation. But you can try those other ones and let me know how you think about them. But to me, ESPN is the way to go. Okay, so this is how your setup looks like. So I am what is known in my league is a league manager, which basically I set up everything. I set up the draft. I set up how many minutes each person is supposed to take. And I let the other players and league members know what's going on and things like that. So basically, I am the boss of the whole thing. So that's just the best way to describe it. So this is the setup, and these are the blocks on how many players you are going to draft. So, of course, you have to have your quarterback. I have it set up that you can get 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end. Flex player is basically a wild card. You can make it, but you can't just put anybody in there. It only requires wide receivers, running backs, or tight ends. So you can put in whatever player you want on that. And then, of course, you have your defense and your kicker. And let me go ahead and scroll down here, and I'll show you. And also, you also have bench players, which is basically your backup players. So your bench players can be whoever you want. So they can be quarterback, wide receiver, running back, anybody. So when you draft, so if your spots up at the top are filled, it will automatically go to your bench player. So if you want to go back and actually play somebody, then you would have to switch them out. But they will automatically go to your bench spot. But again, your bench players can be whoever you want. But you always have to make sure that you fill up those top spots right there. Otherwise, your team's not going to be complete, and you're going to have a rough time. So that's just kind of an inside on what that looks. And let me go ahead and show you something else here. Okay, so now I am on the list of players that you can draft on your draft day. And they rank it based off of who is most likely to succeed this year, who's going to have a really good year this year, and they base it off of how their performance was the following year. So basically, you just got to look at, okay, who is best available? Who do I need to have on my team? Will they be a success for me during the season? You just got to take those into considerations. So this is basically like a cheat sheet based off of how ESPN ranks each player. But of course, you can always print off cheat sheets and just compare the two, and then just base it off of that if you want to. And I usually do that, but again, it's something you don't have to do, but it is kind of a good backup if you're not sure on who is the best player to pick up. So again, it just goes right down the list. This is a mixture of any kind of players. It's just not just running backs, not just wide receivers. It's everybody who plays in the NFL. So, and that's just something to keep in mind. And basically, if you're using ESPN, you just go right up to players and you scroll down, and then you just click the roster. So that's just a few tips on how to navigate your webpage on your fantasy football league. Just kind of know where to go to look for top players and what you should be looking for when you actually draft players on your draft day. So now what I'm going to talk about is the actual drafting. So when someone invites you onto a league, your league manager will usually send you an email or a text message that'll have a link that'll say, okay, you want to go ahead and join my league. When they do that, just click the link, and then you usually sign into your ESPN account if you do have an ESPN account. If you don't, it is required that you have to sign up for it. Otherwise, you cannot go into the league. So when they say that, take care of that, and then it will automatically set up to your roster. Once you have been added to the league, you can make your own team name. You can have a little icon next to it. You could make it whatever you want. I like the creativeness of the team names. I'm not going to tell you what mine is, just in case you want to stalk me, which I don't appreciate. So, I'm going to leave my name out there, but I like being creative. I know some people kind of get a little raunchy with their team names, which is kind of humorous mostly, or they kind of get creative like with team players and kind of put a little twist to the name, but you can make it whatever you want. Personally, I like the creativeness. It kind of makes you stand out a little bit. Otherwise, if you don't, it will just say like team and then your last name, which is okay, but again, I'm more of a creative person. I like the creativeness in the name, so you can do whatever you want on that. Okay, so once you get set up and you're in the league, basically you are all set to go. And then what's going to happen is your league manager is going to send you an email saying, hey, we are going to have our draft on this day at this time. And the draft setups on those, they have like 3 different types of drafting. You can draft online, which basically you do everything manually. You all meet together and one place. I know for this year it's probably going to be a little difficult with COVID going on. Not everybody can meet. But basically everyone just gets together and you manually pick who you want to draft. There's no time limit. You guys basically just go at your own pace. And then there is another one that I usually like to do, and I think it's pretty simple. It's called a snake draft. Snake draft, basically, you do everything online. There is a set time on how long you have to make your pick. Otherwise, if you do not pick it within that time period, it will automatically give you the next best available on their list. But with me, I usually have a date, and everybody gets about 90 seconds to make their pick. And again, if you don't pick it within that time, then it will automatically pick who's next available, whether you like that person or not. It does happen. So, and that's usually what I would recommend doing. But again, it is up to you guys on which one you decide to do. And so there is another one that you can do. It is basically called an auto pick. Basically, everybody is not online. It's basically the computer picks for you who is best available. It's basically a luck of the draw. So I personally don't recommend that, but it is up to you. There is another one that you can choose. I have never heard of it before. It's called a salary cap. I'm not really sure which one, what that's involved, but something to look into if it's something you're interested in, or if you know anything about this. I kind of like to know a little bit about it. Just comment down below, and if you know what the salary cap draft is. I'm not really sure what it is, but it is an option for that. Okay, so now it comes to the draft day. When your draft day comes, you are allowed to log in, I think, an hour prior to the time your draft starts. So you can log in anytime, and then it will just have a countdown of when the draft will actually start. You can just hang out in there. You can talk to other people on there, or basically just prepare yourself. Okay, who am I looking at drafting first? What do I need? Who are the best available? And just prepare yourself. And also the option on there is, and you're probably wondering, okay, who's going to draft in what order? You can either pick or set up who's going to draft in order, or ESPN will do that usually a couple hours before you draft. I personally just prefer ESPN doing it, so that way no one's feelings gets hurt or say, no, it's not fair, things like that. It's just simpler that way. So usually ESPN will automatically do that for you before you start drafting. So, and then you can go in and see which spot you're going to be drafting. The higher the pick, the higher the pick, basically, the better chance you're going to get a pretty good player. Personally, I would prefer to draft more in the middle or a little bit later on, but again, it's ESPN. It just automatically does that for you. So even if you do get a higher pick, it's not a bad spot to be in, but I just prefer to be more in the middle, so that way it's just a lot easier. Then you don't really have back-to-back drafting. That is one thing. If you are picked to draft first or last in the rounds in the rotation, you will have back-to-back picks. So, and usually I don't like that just because it just kind of gives me, I would prefer to have a little bit more time, like seeing who's available. But again, to each their own. Some people like it, some people don't. Again, it's to each their own. Okay, so the draft day comes, and now the draft is starting. It will play the little ESPN music and let you know, okay, it started. And then whoever is picking first will automatically start. And it'll give them 90 seconds or whatever their league manager has their time set for. So for me, it's usually 90 seconds. So they have 90 seconds to make their first pick. And then they'll draft it, and then it'll automatically go to the next person, then they'll pick, and then automatically, you keep doing that until the draft is over, and there's no more picks. So, now it's a matter of, okay, when I'm drafting, who do I pick? What are the best players to pick? And again, this is all just my opinion based off of what I've seen, what I've read. And again, you don't have to go by what I say, but this is mainly just for beginners based off of what I've experienced through the years of doing this. But it is completely up to you guys. And again, I would like to hear your guys' opinions on this, what you guys usually do, what your strategies are. I would love to hear about that. Okay, so who are the best players to pick in the very beginning? My opinion, I would say mostly focus on your running backs and your wide receivers. Those players are going to be the players where they are going to get you the big points. Now, you're probably thinking, what about a quarterback? I mean, they're usually throwing the ball to players, and they're doing most of the work. Wouldn't they be the ones to get most of your points? Yes, they do get you a lot of points, but your running backs and your wide receivers are going to be one who's going to be doing most of the scoring, most of the running. They're the ones you really need to focus on. So I suggest maybe for the first 3 to 4 rounds, really focus on your running backs and your wide receivers. Now, there may be a player that pops up that's a quarterback or a tight end that is best available. If you want to snag them up, definitely go for it if they are available. Personally, for the quarterbacks and the tight ends, I usually wait towards mid-draft in order to draft those. But again, it's based off of who is best available on your roster. Now, you may pick up a quarterback or a tight end towards the beginning, which is perfectly fine. But for me, I usually try to hold off on those as long as possible if I possibly can. But I try to stay focused more on the wide receivers and the running backs, because those are the guys that are going to get most of your points. Now, the quarterbacks and the tight ends, they will definitely give you your points, but they're not going to give you the majority of your points. Yeah, there may be a day where you're going to draft a good quarterback that's going to have an outstanding day, going to get you like in the 20s and the 30s, and they will give you a lot of points. It does happen, but the quarterbacks don't need to be your main focus on there. Those can actually wait a little bit, but it is up to you guys. If you guys really want to draft Tom Brady, that is your opinion. Personally, I wouldn't even touch it. So, I would say the quarterbacks and your tight ends could probably be more in your mid-draft. So, I would say probably maybe round 5, round 6, somewhere along that time. So, okay, maybe I need to start looking more at a quarterback. So, somewhere in that mid-range is probably where you need to start looking for that. And then once you have drafted your quarterback, your main quarterback, and your tight end, then you could definitely go back, okay, see who's available on wide receiver, who's back on running backs, and then see if there's anybody worth picking up, or if I should just hold off on that and just look somewhere else, see if maybe there's another quarterback I can pick up, things like that. Now, the last two, your defense and your kicker. This kind of irks me a little bit sometimes when I see people draft. And I highly, highly recommend doing this. Always leave your defense and your kicker to your last two picks. To me, a defense is a defense. Yeah, they will score, but also they could lose you points, just like with anyone else. But they have the most greater chance of losing you points. So, again, it's not a main focus to really keep an eye on. Your kicker, to me, a kicker is a kicker. They're only out there maybe a couple of times during a game. They kick the ball, okay, you get a whopping 2 points or 1 point. So it's not worth focusing on those and drafting those throughout the draft. Those should be the last 2 picks you ever make in your draft, because it's not worth drafting those positions in mid-draft. So yeah, keep those for your last 2 picks. I mean, whoever's best available for defense, pick that one. Whoever's best available for the kicker, pick that one. Again, a defense is a defense and a kicker is a kicker. They're not going to be your big point goers, so leave those to the very end. Now, a few things I wanted to discuss, things to kind of keep an eye on, but you don't have to put too much thought into it. Like, I wouldn't worry about it while I'm drafting, saying, and then like freaking out, worrying, oh my gosh, I should have done this, I should have done that, blah, 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 things like that. So these are things just kind of keep in the back of your mind, but you don't have to really worry about it. And first thing is specific players being drafted. And what I mean by that is, okay, so you got your main team filled out. Now, who do I pick on the bench? I have my own strategy on how many like running backs and wide receivers I pick to be put on the bench. But again, it is up to you on whatever strategy that you do. If there's a player that pops up and that's out of your own strategy that is worth picking up, you can definitely pick them up. But again, you can stay focused on to how you want to draft, like how many specific players you want to draft on there. Like, okay, throughout my whole draft, I want to draft 5 wide receivers and 4 running backs. But then maybe you may go through and say, oh, so-and-so is available, so I'm just going to go ahead and draft them. I think they would be a great person to pick up. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Even though it's out of my range, definitely go for it. Again, it's all about best available. Who is going to be best for your team? Who is going to give you a winning season? That's what you need to focus on. So again, it's excuse me. It's something good to keep in the back of your mind, but don't really keep all your focus on that. Now, another thing that I kind of do this, but again, I try not to make it a huge priority when I draft, is look out for those bye weeks. So when you draft, it will let you know that player, what team they are on, and when that team is on their bye week. I do keep that in the back of your mind. So let's just say, for example, I draft 2 players, and let's just say their bye week is on week 9, let's say. So I draft those 2 players. They're both on a bye week on week 9. And then, so let's say week 9 comes about. And, of course, when they're on a bye week, you can't play those 2 players. You have to switch them out with someone on your bench. And let's just say I go on my bench, and then I notice, oh my gosh, my backup wide receiver is also on a bye week that week. So, unfortunately, you can't do that. So, that's where you get a little bit stuck. So, because then that would mean you would have to go up, you would have to pick somebody up, a player who's probably not going to give you good enough points, maybe a couple points here and there, but probably is not going to give you maybe a winning amount of points. So I always just keep it in the back of my head saying, okay, just kind of see, okay, when are they on a bye week? Will I have somebody that's available on my bench that I can put in during that week? Things like that. Again, it shouldn't be your main focus when you draft, but it's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind when you do draft, and just kind of keep an eye on that. So that way, when their bye week comes, you actually have a decent player who you can put in there, and they can be able to give you some decent amount of points. So again, something just to keep in the back of your mind. All right, so those are some tips on when to draft. And again, when your draft's done, then it is all up to you. You can switch out players, just keep an eye on when they are on their bye weeks, and also keep an eye on, like, okay, are they having good weeks? Are they starting to go down? Have they been injured, which is a big thing. Of course, if you have an injured player, of course you're going to have to switch them out, because if they're injured, they're not obviously going to be playing, and if they don't play, they're not going to give you any points. Simple as that. So always keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah, injuries are going to happen. Definitely. Yes, it is a rough thing to experience when you are doing fantasy football, but it is part of fantasy football. It is part of football in general, but you just got to do what you got to do, and it is fun, but it can be a struggle at the same time. So yeah, when you draft, it is all on your own, and you just put in the best you can, put in the best effort that you can, and just hope that you have a winning season and that you beat your opponent every week, and there it is to it. And some drafts, most drafts that I've been in, there is usually money involved, so always keep that in mind when you do fantasy football. If there is money involved, always take it seriously. I've been in drafts where there's been people who just basically give up after a week, and then it's like an easy win, and it's not fun. It really isn't fun. So if there is money involved, always take it seriously. Even if you're having the worst draft of your life, having the worst season of your life, always take it seriously. Always just put in the effort. If you put in the effort, it will make a huge, huge difference. All right, so I think that's going to do it. Those are my tips for rookies who have not done fantasy football ever. Again, those are just my tips. If there's anything that you do when you do fantasy football that you would like to share with us, and even share with me, I'm definitely looking for more tips and maybe I haven't thought of. Definitely comment down below, and I would like to read them. All right, so that's going to do it for Katy's Corner today. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And definitely subscribe to our channel, because that will help us out in the long run. And definitely click that notification bell, and it will let you know when either Andy and I upload a new video. And also definitely like us on our Facebook page. Even though we do appreciate the love on Facebook, it helps us out more in the long run if you subscribe to our channel. So that's going to do it for Katy's Corner. I will see you guys next time, and that is that.